At this point, it is my pleasure to hand over the session to our session chair, Dr. Vasumathi. We warmly welcome you and yes, look forward to your guidance throughout the session now.
Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
So I just invite the presenter, Stina Sebastian, to present their paper now. How does blockchain technology help to make pharmaceutical cold chain reliable?
Okay, let me see. I will share my screen. Yes, hello everyone, and very warm welcome again. I'm Christina, and together with my colleague Esadullah, I'm happy to have you here from any time zone. So today we look at one key question: how does blockchain help to make pharmaceutical cold chain reliable? So, Esad, are you here?
Yeah. Good morning or good evening, everyone. Thank you, Christina. I would just go through the agenda. The agenda for this presentation is introduction, blockchain in pharmaceutical cold chain. The second topic is literature review and global implication, implementation in key solution and visual overview. The third topic is research methodology, public and expert survey. And after that, we have own research study, survey insights, cross analysis, expert findings, and challenges with the means of technical, economical, and regulatory barriers to implement this technology in cold chain. And the last topic will be key insights in summary, evidence-based conclusions. Thank you, Dr. Christine.
So now the question is why it matters. Cold chains are complex and they are directly linked to patient safety. So that's why we explored blockchain as a future-oriented solution. And across 150 implementations in 25 countries, blockchain shows clear benefits, namely up to 30% lower supply chain costs and yes, around 75% better traceability. So now the question is what blockchain solves? Pharma supply chains struggle with critical challenges like security, authenticity, traceability, and also safety. And yes, blockchain can help by securely recording every step and timestamp. And for cold chain medicines, it can track and log temperature changes to keep products safe. I think here we talk about trust and reliability. Blockchain increases trust by making data transparent and also tamper-proof. It also monitors temperatures in real time, triggers alerts, and supports automated secure processes. So there are also a few operational benefits. It also gives real-time visibility of, let me say, inventory, improves coordination, and supports fast and also safe delivery. So especially important also during a crisis, as we know now after COVID-19 crisis.
This slide is about the process of blockchain technology from manufacturer to patients. So that there are different steps, as we can see here in the picture. And we can read that each drug labeled with unique QR code or hash and registered on the blockchain. So the idea is that based on the hash and the QR code, unique QR code, the cold chain is in every step controlled and visible and transferable and a very clear and reliable manner. Next. As you can see here in this picture, this is also with the centralized blockchain called connected to sensors. That this talks about the sensors in every step. For example, even when the drug of for example, the pharmaceutical products are in transfer from one location to the other location. And at the end result, the last person who decides, for example, the quality of the temperature of the pharmaceutical product, he decides here whether the temperature is increased or decreased from the optimal level, and he decides to reject or to accept. Christina.
Yes. Now let's come to our research, to our own research. We ran two surveys, namely public survey. It's all about wanted to find out about awareness, trust, and opinions on blockchain in medicine distribution. So this was the public survey. We had questions on all these points and also the expert survey. So we wanted to find insights on technology adoption, artificial intelligence tracking, and key challenges. And together, they show growing interest, but also explain existing barriers. But I think Esat will tell me more about it. And now, before we start this, I have a very small, a question. Yes, I want to ask you, how confident are you that medicines are stored and transported safely in cold chains? So just write in the chat if you're very confident, somewhat confident, or not confident with it. I just want to know how you think about it. Yes? Just think about it. We can go through it later, but that would be my question. But now let's go deeper. Yes? And I think Esat will tell you more about it. Yes?
Yeah, these are there were two main questions about of course, I mean, the open-ended question when we were conducting this research survey. The first question was, what would increase your trust in medicine or vaccine distribution? And this under that, below that, you can see the key insights or the key responses from the audience of the survey. The most important thing was that the audience thought that it will increase the trust is transparency and oversight. For example, they say transparency, more information, and also regulatory body ensuring strict oversight. So this is the key issue when we are collecting the data, when we were analyzing the data. And there is also a second question. We can go to the next slide. The second question was, what are your thoughts or concern about blockchain and healthcare logistics? Still, transparency and security benefits was the key, let's say, thoughts. That means that transparency was the most important topic when you are collecting and analyzing the data. So, for example, they say that you have to improve the traceability of medicine, for example, from one point to the other point, and immutable ledger reduces counterfeit risks. For example, what are the risks that should be also discussed during the process? So that's the whole idea, and there are other concerns to increase the trust, as you can see. So I have to skip, and we have to go to the next slide. Yeah, here you can see that we have conducted a kind of cross-analysis of knowledge, trust, and demographics of the survey. For example, in the area of blockchain understanding by education. Here in this graphics, we can see the most educated people in the pool of the survey of the responder. They were familiar with the blockchain, with the concept of the blockchain. For example, the people having master and less bachelor, and the lowest was the high school degree holders. Next. There was also a similar analysis for with the vaccination and medication distribution. So we can see here that almost 41 persons, 41% of the respondents were fully trusted about the vaccination distribution. And after that, we see that almost 50% was somewhat trusted, and the lowest rate, almost more than 9% was not really trusted. Next. Yeah, and awareness of cold chain based blockchain. That was also an interesting analysis. Cold chain is forward introduced in the pharmaceutical industry, but blockchain is a new, let's say, concept in the area. It's still adapting to many areas, including healthcare and pharmaceutical products. But we can see that more people are aware about blockchain. They have enough awareness than cold chain. Next. And these are the expert interviews, the second part of the survey that we conducted, or the research survey that we conducted. Is we have conducted an expert interview with a lot of with different people of the same field of profession. And we have asked specific questions about the so I can see it clear. Yeah, now it's better. Yeah, the first question was, could you please share your insights about the role of technology in the pharmaceutical cold chain? So, in short, we can say that transparency and the traceability was still an issue, which was on the top of the list. So, for example, they say that IoT sensors, barcodes, and blockchain create immutable records of IoT. Internet IoT means Internet of Things, history, supplier, verification, and storage conditions. So these are the areas that we wanted to ensure that traceability and transparency should be ensure in these steps in these areas of the technology. The second question was about what do you think about the usage of blockchain technology in the pharmaceutical cold chain? So there were different response received, but these are the key responses. For example, the adoption and potential. The second category of responses was the integration and challenges, and the last was the barriers to adoption. Next.
Yes, it's important to mention challenges. Blockchain research is still evolving. Block size limits can slow systems. Global participation is also hard, and especially in developing countries. And integrating large Internet of Things data streams remains difficult. So, last but not least, key insights and summary. In short, blockchain can make cold chains more secure, transparent, and efficient. Real-time monitoring improves reliability. Our study shows that trust grows with transparency and education, but technical and regulatory barriers remain. So still the potential to strengthen global cold chain management is strong and evidence-based. So thank you so much to you. And yes, I think time is over. So if you have any questions, I will tell you my email and you can write me every time. Yes, 24 hours a day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was very a nice presentation, but I had some technical questions related with your topic. Shall I ask? Can you hear my voice?
Yes,
Presenter?
we are hearing you.
Yes, yes. So I'm going to ask some technical question. Actually, have you created any smart contract automation? Smart contract for automation, because in your presentation you have mentioned you are going to create QR code for drugs. Drug is labeled with QR code or hash code. Have you used any technical things for that? Which means smart contract. Have you?
Was the question? Yeah. If I understand, have you used small contracts for these QR codes?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we have reviewed a lot of literature which are talking about a small contract, and small contracts are, let's say, the most important portion when it comes to this context. If you are interested to, or anyone interested to know more about it, maybe that will be better if you can later refer to our paper when it is published. Thank you.
Okay. So as per my observation, what specific limitations of traditional things does blockchain address?
I cannot hear you clearly because there is some, I think, something. Can you repeat, please?
Can you address any specific limitations of traditional method?
On the traditional method,
Mm-hmm.
the most important, based on the research, was in the traditional method was lack of transparency. For example, there was we cannot we cannot study the cold chain or based on records or real-time records. The blockchain technology help us to have a real-time data in order to ensure transparency and traceability. I hope that was the answer.
Can I call the next presenter?
Yes, you can. I will try to share my screen with you. My name is Jan Jansen, and I will discuss with you during the next 10-15 minutes the true prices in the coffee market. Interesting word coffee, because in a lot of languages, and I wrote down here a few, it sounds more or less the same. So it's a very interesting product, and especially, I'll go now to the next slide. The price of coffee is interesting, and for that I took an example just to make it a little bit clear about the coffee price in the Netherlands. It's about 20 euros in the supermarket for 1 kilo of coffee. And now the question is that a good price, a true price? And the answer is we don't think so. Because if you like to include the environmental costs, the cost of external effects of, for instance, pollution, and the social cost of, for instance, very cheap labor, then the price of coffee should be a little bit higher, around estimates about 5 euros higher. So we pay a too low price for coffee in the supermarket, but not only in the supermarket, but also in a lot of other places, like in coffee bars and stuff like that. Before starting with the presentation, I think it's also good to know that the coffee belt is around the equator, so in the tropical area, and the consumption often is in the more northern hemisphere, like United States, Europe, and other parts of the world. Well, now coming to the presentation, I will make 8 steps, as you can see, and I will guide you through all the steps during the coming 10-12 minutes. Coffee is an interesting product. As I already told you, it's produced in a tropical area, and it uses a lot of environmental impact, like the soil, water, and that causes also a lot of, let's say, external negative aspects in the economy, but also in terms of labor. Normally, for the farms where you work, there are low wages, not very good, let's say, labor conditions, often child labor and other issues like that. And the other aspect I would like to show you is that the processing and consumption of coffee is often in the Northern Hemisphere. So let's say Europe, United States. Often multinational companies play an important role. And in my research, I will focus on small and medium-sized enterprises and also focus that into a certain area of Europe, the Netherlands. The coffee market is quite fragmented. As you can see, there are a few important international players also on the Dutch market, but also in the European market, like GDA Peet's, Starbucks, Nestle, and some other to mention. But these are the 3 main players in, let's say, in the European area. And for the Dutch case, I focus on 5 small and medium-sized enterprises. And forgive me the Dutch pronunciation of the names. Peze, Tuka, Koffiemeister, combination of German and Dutch, Koffiejongens, and Pelikaan. So these are 5 small and medium-sized enterprises, and you have to think about a staff around 10, 20 people. Another aspect of the coffee market is the coffee price. As you can see, I made here a plot of the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States, and there you can see that the price is very volatile, so it goes up and down a lot. This is over a long period, as you can see, but if you look for one day, it can also be volatile even within one day. So it depends a little bit on the information you look at. The coffee price structure is also interesting. One of my sources, and there are a great many, but I just share with you one, is you can see that a lot of the coffee price structure is in the retail sector. So in the supermarkets, in the coffee bars and stuff like that. Distribution, only 1%, roasting 30%, exporting 6%, and growing, so the farmers, only 2%. So this is interesting to notice. I show you here a small survey of some information. of a few companies, and often it's very difficult to compare all sorts of coffee. There are a lot of varieties, but I focused on one type of coffee called red type of coffee. And there you can see the prices in the shop. So for the supermarket, around 18 to 27 euros, including VAT, value-added tax. And for the small ones, you see relevant higher prices. And that will be one of the topics I would like to discuss with you. What is the case for, let's say, the true price? And even if you look into a coffee bar, then you see that the price of a cup of coffee of 10 grams is around 3 euros, 3.50. But if you look that in terms of 1 kilo, it is 300 euros, 310, 350. So we're talking about huge prices. And that brings me to one overview. How are true costs calculated? That's a tricky thing. One aspect is the true price, the willingness to pay of consumers. Some consumers would like to pay more. That's based on the consumer surplus. I will come later on that. And the other ones are, let's say, trying to estimate the costs of external effects, like pollution, damage, and stuff like that. And for that, there are some techniques like shadow pricing, marginal costs, and estimation techniques, let's say, that are used by the true price organization. And it's often a little bit of black box they use, to be honest. And fair payment, and especially for labor, but also for other, let's say, components, as you can see, like the energy, the fertilizers, and stuff like that. This makes it very complex also to measure it and to make it more transparent for the consumers. That's maybe also a nice link to the previous presentation of the blockchain or the distributed ledger technology. The True Price Foundation tries to make it a little bit more clear, their black box. So they look to social costs with a lot of examples, and I will not tell them all now to you, because you can read and I will share with you the presentation. And the environmental costs, as you can see, and I already mentioned a few during my previous slide. Let's do a little bit of basic economics. You can see here a supply and demand curve. The red one is the supply curve, the blue one is the demand curve. And if we would like to, let's say, to use the technique of the costs of the true price, the external costs, like the marginal costing, then we can add that to the system as you can see it here to the right, with a shift of the supply curve to the left. So it goes up. Well, this is then summarized in this overview, and then we see what's happening on the market. So in the original situation, you paid this amount in the equilibrium, and there's a consumer surplus and a producer surplus. And the question now is, if we would like to have a higher price because of the external costs, then the true price is the P double asterisk, as you can see. That means a lower consumer surplus, so the consumer is paying more. The producer is receiving more or less the same amount, but he's also receiving the external costs, a contribution to the external costs, and to pay the damage, as it were. So this is a tricky thing also to organize, because this is beautiful in theory, but in real life it's difficult to measure and also to see who is responsible for what. So I'm now coming a little bit to the supply chain of coffee, which is quite different from, let's say, the medical drugs we just saw in the previous presentation. A lot of traditional patterns are still relevant, even from the colonial past. The focal companies, the big companies, they are dominant. Companies like GDE, Peet's, and Starbucks, and Nestle. On the other hand, small and medium-sized enterprises also try to get in this system right away. And for that, they try to make combinations with small farmers, with cooperative structures, with syndicates, and often with large plantations. And as we can see already, we just saw that a few moments ago, the world market price is very volatile. But also the influence of the climate change plays an important role. So the sustainability issues are playing an important role. Coming back to the traditional, let's say, overview of the structures, you can see here a print from a old textbook of international trade of tropical products. And you can see a lot of small producers. And this structure you see often back in traditional exporting coffee countries. This is rapidly changing because of maybe 2 or 3 main players that play a role in the coffee market. On the other hand, we see also now small and medium-sized enterprises playing a role again. So this old pattern, coming back to the 17th, 18th century in the Netherlands, is partly still existing in the world, partly not, and also partly again introduced. The supply chain, as we can see, in a very simplified overview, and I took the example of Colombia, we see that the farmer thinks in pesos, the corporations as well, the exporter as well, but he's also looking into dollars. The importer in Western Europe has a dollar-euro view, and again, the roaster and the retail in euros. So we see in, let's say, real life, a lot of problems happening also in the supply chain finance aspect, that we have also all sorts of currency issues and how to ensure those risks. Another aspect that plays a role in the supply chain finance aspect is how roasters, for instance, can pre-finance crops for farmers. This overview is developed based on some World Bank publications. And this is an issue that plays an important role also to improve the liquidity, especially for the farmers in the tropical area that is often low-income countries. Sorry for sharing a little bit of German with you. My colleague, Professor Henke from the University of Dortmund, he shared with me an interesting overview about deep tier financing, and especially the issues of pre-finance, as in German they say Vorfinanzierung. He confirmed the overview I just showed you from the World Bank, but now in an issue he did research in a special case in the German environment. Then I continue with some research I shared with my former students from Vietnam, Mr. Nguyen and Mr. Le. And they showed how the patterns are in Vietnam, from plantations to corporations to exporters and then to the coffee to the EU. And we see here also a lot of interesting issues around the national resources, sustainable flows. And the sustainable flows, they also play a role in packaging, especially in Western Europe, but also during the process from the coffee plantation to the exporter in Vietnam. Then we live in a so-called VUCA world. This acronym we probably know, very volatile, uncertain world with chaos. And there are 5 main issues that play a role, as you can see. In logistics, in supply chain management, service is important, but also the costs. And from the capital aspect, we would like to have a lot of liquidity, the net operating working capital. And nowadays, 2 other aspects are important, and they play a role, that are the sustainability and the risk and resilience, and especially how resilient is a coffee supply chain. I'm now finishing and coming back to the results. Case studies, the 5 companies I studied, they often share a lot of PR information on their website and in their interviews as well. There's a lot of lack of information about real information about the data, as you can see. And that is making it sometimes not so reliable when you would like to compare, let's say, supply chains of coffee with each other. We see in this overview the true cost price structure. And again, the retailer earns a lot, and the farmer, as you can see, only 3%. And the roasters, they also earn a lot of money. So there is a lot of inequality in the total supply chain of coffee. The overview I developed and the data, and I was a bit jealous about the previous presentation where you had beautiful data. Well, this is lacking because the companies don't want to share their information with me. So this is an interesting overview, but unfortunately empty. So this would be a nice, interesting case study to develop, let's say, for a next research to get more data about this issue. But sometimes companies are not fond of sharing data. Now I'm at my last slide. So what are the true costs? That's a bit difficult sometimes to measure, as I already told you. It's difficult to map them in the beginning. Also, it's not always clear what are exactly externalities in economics, in finance. How do we distinguish the direct ones with the more indirect ones? And the lack of transparency for the final consumer for, let's say, information about prices from the farmer throughout the chain. Possible directions, fintech and distributed ledger technology platforms can play a role in perhaps sharing some of the data so we get more information about the sustainability, the true price, and the liquidity in the chain. And last but not least is how resilient is the coffee supply chain to absorb all kinds of shocks. And we see here a few of them, but we live in a VUCA world and we can see a lot of those changes happening right away, not only to coffee, but also to a lot of other products. This was in a nutshell the research. I have some other slides, but I will share them with you on the remarks so you can have a look at them. Maybe it's now time for a few questions. So I will stop sharing.
Thank you, Mr. Jan. It was very informative presentation. So many informations are there in your slide. And I need to know about the term. What is the impact of shadow pricing in TrueCast?
Please, could you repeat?
Yes, impact of shadow pricing in TrueCast.
Right. As maybe some of you know, shadow pricing is a mathematical technique of linear programming. And the externalities, they are not traded on the market like we see with a lot of products. So you have to estimate the economic value of, let's say, a limitation factor. And that means in this case, fertile soil, for instance, or deforestation. So the True Price Organization, for instance, tries to estimate those numbers to see what is the shadow price of nature, of fertile ground, of water, etc. So that's why we use the technique just to estimate the price, which is an imperfect technique because there is no market price. So we have to look for a second best solution. And that's why mathematics helps us. But there are also a few other techniques like marginal costing technique. And the other one is the estimation black box from the True Price Organization.
Thank you, Mr. Jan.
I see. Albert has also a question or not?
I have also a question.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to make sure that I understood you correctly. So how can we ensure that the larger share of the price actually reaches the coffee farmers, given that there are many different actors involved in the supply chain? I mean, you introduced the crop financing approach, and is it only one part of the solution, right? To ensure a higher price for the farmers. Is this true?
No, let's say the financing instrument is only a liquidity instrument. It doesn't say anything about the fair price they would get. It just helps their liquidity, which is also not unimportant, of course. The fact is how much they will receive is that a fair price that can only be registered using, let's say, for instance, cloud technology or blockchain technology, DLT, to see how much a roaster is offering a farmer in, let's say, Colombia or in Ethiopia. And that is put on their, let's say, supply chain in the overview in the distributed ledger technology, like you did it in your research as well. So that is possible, but you see there is a kind of companies are afraid of doing that because they are sharing their business information, and they don't like. So one of my topics at the end is be transparent, share information, also for consumers, because some consumers want to pay more. That is the willingness to pay. I introduce you to the consumer surplus. And we see that in, let's say, Dutch companies, small and medium-sized enterprises, where they pay more or less the double of the coffee price than in the supermarket. So there are groups of consumers that are willing to pay, but they want to be informed. And on the websites, they don't inform really the consumers, and that's a pity.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Yes, I would like to. Yeah, I don't have actually a question, but I have a compliment. I like this presentation because this is more or less my area, finance. Yeah, and Dr. Johnson also mentioned about the blockchain, the role of DLT. So, shall I suggest if we can focus on this technology coming one of the papers to work on it jointly, Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, it might be interesting, because we need a lot of, let's say, research effort to make it more visible. To be honest, I'm sharing also the information with one PhD student from Colombia, and the research group of logistics from Han University and from the University of Dortmund. Professor Henke, you saw his information as well. So I'm sharing it also in the group of supply chain finance community because it's a high priority to do further research. So every, let's say, help is useful. But also from our colleagues from Indonesia, for instance, it's a very important exporting country of coffee. And if we have now a contact with Indonesia, with Professor Albert Effendi Pohan, it's interesting. Let's say maybe that a group of students will do some research over there as well.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm open to
Thank
collaboration.
you. Yeah, we can talk about it later on. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? Thank you, Mr. Jan.
Thank you.
I would like to invite the next presenter. The paper title is Understanding the Decision-Making Mechanisms of Migrants. I'd like to invite the presenter. Kindly share your screen now.
Okay, just a minute. What? Okay, hello everybody. Professor Dr. Selim Ozdemir, Dr. Amar Farouk, the key speakers, and Christina Sarba Shabas, and the organizer Vasumathi. I'm going to present the paper with my colleague from the Institute for Economics and Forecasting, National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine, understanding the decision-making mechanism of migrants. So the main, I hope you hear me quite good, okay?
Yes, yes.
The
We
main
can hear you.
questions which we would like to analyze the nature and factors influencing decision-making process of migrants, theoretical approaches to migration and decision-making of migrants, survey results of assessment of Center of Economic Studies based on various factors, the effects of migration on business development, and conclusions. So, you know that the question of migrants is very important, and especially if we look on the global situation, every sixth person in the world are migrants. So in our study, we analyzed the modern migration theories, and we analyzed the new economics and social network theories that provide a clear understanding of real situation and uneven, recurrent, and multifaceted trends. Theories of decision-making include effective emotional models, and the ideal method for examining modern migration is interdisciplinary approach that integrates economic, psychological, social, and political aspects. So I just would like to pay attention on the connection between decision-making theories and migration theories. Because there are different approaches. Some authors consider that decision-making theories belongs to the migration theories, and they both discuss the same subject. Another authors consider that it is completely different theories, and they should be divided. So here you could see that from the slide that decision-making theories explain individual level of decision process, and migration theories provide context macro and meso level. So, and here you see that both these two kinds of theories, migration theories and decision-making theories, they provide synergy effect, holistic understanding of all these processes, and create opportunities for understanding these procedures, and migrants navigate with choices. So now we'd like to speak about the situation with Ukrainian migrants. You know that immigration, over 5 million Ukrainians live abroad permanently. As a result of full-scale war in Ukraine in February 24th, 2022, around 7.7 million Ukrainians have fled their country. Poland, Germany, and Czech Republic, the largest number of refugees from Ukraine. 83% of Ukrainian refugees are women, children, and people over 60. Internal displacement. It is people who were forced to leave their houses and to move to more safety, if it is possible to say that these safety places could exist in Ukraine, because every day there is bombardment and hostilities. So over 3.7 million internally displaced people due to the war in Donbass, it is east part of Ukraine, and full-scale invasion. Refugee crisis. So millions Ukrainians were forced to go abroad. 2/3 of individuals possesses an advanced tertiary level of education. They employed, but because of the situation and they were forced to go abroad, they employed in low-skilled jobs compared to 49 in high-skilled. So I just here we give the results of survey results of Center for Economic Strategy that showed the main factors pushing for migration from Ukraine. And you could see that the most important, it is threat to life. It is about 60%. Then we could see possible occupation, loss of housing, future uncertainty, not services, financial permission for men, lack of employment, and conscription. So owing to these results, we can make conclusion that the most affecting factors pushing people go and migrate, it is threat to life, possible occupation, and loss of housing. And the attitudes towards Ukrainians who are now staying abroad. And the most important to mention that now we could see that in some Western countries, one could mention some elements of negative attitudes. For example, in Poland, in Czechia, Italy. It means that, of course, those countries who admitted Ukrainian immigrants, they have some problems as well, and some people are now show not positive attitudes to these migrants. So estimation of the probability of the return of Ukrainian refugees from abroad. According to estimation, it was 2025. We could see that nobody, not considering not to return, not stay abroad. It means that all people have optimistic thinking that they would return back. But if we look on this data, we can see that some people considering more, some people considering less to return back. And looking on these estimations, we could see that more than half of respondents plan to return to the country after the war ends. Only the fourth of the applicants answered that they would rather not consider coming back to Ukraine. Under the optimistic scenarios, Ukraine overall economic losses will be about 5% pre-war gross domestic product. And the most gloomy scenario, it will be 7.75% pre-war GDP. So if you look on the data of refugees employed in selected OECD countries, you can see that a majority, because two countries, they hosted the majority of Ukrainian refugees, Poland, more than 1 million, and Germany. So in Poland, about 60% of refugees, they are employed. In Great Britain, 51, and you could see in Germany it was 18, but you know now in Germany there are some programs which are closing the giving some subsidies to Ukrainians, and it means they would be employed. So overview of migration in Ukraine, another survey Gradus report showed that 55% of respondents indicated that adaptation significantly affects their intention to return to Ukraine. Those migrants who work remotely for Ukrainian companies, 70%, and 68% wish to return back. Nevertheless, 60% of respondents feel personally safe abroad and somewhat concerned about safety of their children. So looking on these results, we could see that most of respondents are willing to return back in case of having safety conditions and having some economic possibilities to live, because a lot of people, they lost their houses and they are in difficult situation. So here just the change, the analysis of intention to come back to Ukraine from 2023 to 2025. You could see that it changes, but nevertheless, that more, no, it's about 64% of people now they are wishing to return back in case it will be convenient situation and they will be protected. So conclusions. The theoretical review of migration theories proves that migrants flows can be protected. Scenarios for reducing potential threats can be estimated. Findings from the survey of Ukrainians need satisfactions and indicate that the most important factors are protection of the life of people and creation possibilities to live in safe places. Improving living conditions and ending the violence in Ukraine will entice people to return back to the country. Safety and economic stability are the basic factors that encourage people to migration. Migrants positively affect the region and destination countries. In the destination countries where they settle, migrants has a positive effect on economic development. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor. It was a very nice presentation. So this is the time for question answer and interactive session with the presenter. Do you have any question or query or interaction with the presenter now? Okay, I have a one query
Yeah.
regarding your presentation. Professor, can you use any analytical techniques for all your graphical presentation? Which means
Yeah.
like, have you used any regression model or grounded theory or any structural
Yeah.
modeling? Like,
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I just do not present the result of our research because it is, we are working on it. We used the assessment of just the model of analysis of responses of 5 categories of people, and we estimated with average values these our interviews. So there were just such factors as economic, political, then it was legal and social factors. And there were 5 kinds of responses. For example, how are you satisfied, fully satisfied, moderate satisfied, and no, just give several questions like such question as how satisfied are you with your wage? We ask the migrants. Or how satisfied are you with the provision that the war stops in Ukraine? Or how satisfied are you with the provision of the rules of the law in Ukraine? Or how satisfied are you with the provision of the personal Ukrainian attitudes towards family values, like this.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Professor. How many responses you have got?
It was 500.
500. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor. Is any other questions? No. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to invite the next presenter. The paper title is The Integrated Development of Cognitive Abilities of Students in the Condition of Psychological and Pedagogical Education.
I think they are absent.
Oh, okay. Next, I'd like to invite the next presenter. The paper title is Ethical Consideration in Socio-Virtualization, Balancing Privacy and Social Connection. So they are also absent. I move on to the last presenter. The paper title is Validating the AQ10 Autism Screening Threshold Using Machine Learning Models.
So, a topic of today's topic is we are discussing about validating the model. So, basically, AQ10 autism screening tool is a quick tool which is worldwide used to screen individual with autism and to direct them for clinical diagnosis. So basically, this is a questionnaire used worldwide, which has around 10 standard questions, which will be given to the individuals. So based on the answers what they provide, so the score will be calculated, and if the score is 7 and above, they will be predicted to have autism, and they will be directed to medical diagnosis or clinical diagnosis. So basically, in our study, most researchers these days are using data-driven approaches to verify for thresholds. This fixed threshold, what we have for screening tool, they are analyzing its optimality for different sorts of population and age group. And in our study, we have used machine learning algorithms, as these algorithms helps us to analyze large scale screening data, demographic differences, and to test whether alternative thresholds could reduce diagnostic errors. Our study shows there is an improvement. So whatever we discussed right now, to have such improvements, so our model should be trained with clinical data sets rather than rule based label data sets. So if we go with the objectives of the research, our study, we aimed to validate the AQ10 threshold and to check if machine learning algorithms can predict ASD better than AQ10 threshold, and to explore if screening results differ based on the demographic factors. So this is the literature survey. So this table summarizes the literature review we have done, and most of the research is focused either on screening or applied machine learning. So there is lack of critical examination of how these models behave on rule driven data sets. And our study basically does not concentrate only on aiming for high accuracy. We focus on understanding if machine learning models truly learn patterns or simply replicate rules and label leakage in AQ10 based datasets. So in the methodology, what we have followed is we have taken the data set from Kaggle, which includes around 704 participant records. And all these participants have answered the 10 standard AQ10 questions. And it also includes demographic information like age, gender, their jaundice history. So it includes many other demographic information. And to remove the noise and clean the data, we have gone through few pre-processings. We have replaced the missing values. We have gone for hot encoding. Binary encoding has been done for ASD positive, negative. Instead, we have taken numerical values 0 and 1. And we have divided our data set into 75% and 25% strategy, and 75% of data is used for training the model, and 25% of data is used for testing. Likewise, we have even taken fivefold cross validation to remove the overfitting of the model. And basically, we have used two machine learning algorithms here. One is logistic regression and one is random forest. Logistic regression because it is simple and it allows us to identify each participant, each predictor's contribution in the prediction. And random forest because it is a very powerful tool. It combines multiple models and gives us very strong prediction. And for evaluation, we have used different metrics like confidence metrics, accuracy, precision, F1 score. And to build this model, we have used Python and scikit-learn library. So after evaluation or after model training and execution, the results what we have got is both the models have achieved 100% accuracy. And if we go with the ROC curve, it shows perfect class separation, and confusion matrix shows zero false positive and false negative results. If we check out the results are perfect. So these perfect results are not true intelligence and it is misleading. How it is misleading is the data set what we have taken, it has a label, AST label, which was derived basically by AQ10 question, and it is not clinically diagnosed data. And what models we have used, it actually has to identify the pattern of autism and predict. Instead, it has memorized the rule. So the data set has a rule wherein if out of 10 questions, if 7 questions at least are yes, 7 or above, if questions has yes answer, it is considered as that individual might have autism. So our model, instead of predicting the patterns, it took this particular rule and it started memorizing it and it started giving the results. So the model what we have taken leads to label leakages. So the model only learned the answers, it did not predict the patterns. Though we are using most effective algorithms, the data set, since it is the AST labels are derived from the rules, our model also memorized the rule and it did not learn the patterns. It did not identify the patterns in the data set. Instead, it just memorized the rules and it started predicting if a person has autism or not. And due to this behavior, 100% accuracy has been achieved. So this result, though we have highest like perfect accuracy, these results leads to like misunderstanding. So because of this data leakage, it misleads the researchers and it leads to unsafe medical diagnosis and it hides the biases and errors in the procedure. So accuracy in our models, when we use these two models, the accuracy is mathematically perfect, but scientifically it is misleading. So the other result what we used was the demographic analysis with the data what we had in the data set. According to that, male had almost twice the rate of autism compared to female, and the family history also has an impact as well as the ethnicity. So these were the demographic analysis we had done through the model. And finally, I would like to conclude that the study what we have done wants basically researchers against blindly trusting AI models in healthcare without understanding the data origin. So the recommendations what we would suggest is, instead of taking the data driven or rule driven data sets, it is always better to go with the clinical labels. And instead of going with statistical basic machine learning algorithms, it is always better to go with multi-model data. And the fair auditing is must. So these are the recommendation we would suggest. And thank you. If any questions?
Thank you, Mrs. Deepika. Any questions from other participants?
Uh, I have a question, if I may. Thank you very much. I would like to have a question about the fairness auditing. Can you
Yes.
further
Yes, sir.
explore how is it possible, for example, which tools and techniques are available to use the fairness auditing?
So basically, the auditing what is done worldwide is using that AQ10 questionnaire. It is just a preliminary skill screening tool. So based on the scores what user or the person gives, so it will be predicted that that might person might have autism, and they will be directed for clinical diagnosis. So we have many models to do this prediction in machine learning. Only thing is, while taking the data set, we have to be little careful. So the models what we train, that should be included with clinical diagnosed data set. If not, we need to be very sure about the data set what we are training with the model. If not, it leads to misunderstandings. It may not guide properly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other question? Thank you, Mrs. Deepika, for your presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I think all the presenters have given their presentation now. So we are going to wind up this session. Before that, I need to give my
Yeah.
yes, Christina is there.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Yes, over to
Vasumathi.
Christina. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Today it was very informative and useful session for me personally. I have learned many terms related with our conference topic. So technically we are supporting with the social sciences and different aspect I have learned from this session. Once again, thank you for this giving me this opportunity. Thank you and all the very best for all the presenters today for your research. Thank you.
Thank you. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, and dear participants, as we come to the end of our program today, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to all presenters and attendees and contributors who have made this 17th London International Conference a truly engaging and inspiring event. Yes, for me it was one of the highlights was seeing how researchers from different fields connected their ideas and yes, engaged so actively in discussion because this reflects exactly what this conference aims to achieve. So thank you again. And at this point, it is my great pleasure to hand over the floor to Professor Dr. Selim Özdemir. We warmly invite you to share his remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Christina. Thanks to all the participants. The participants of the 17th LIC joined today from 10 countries. Thanks to Austria, India, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Lithuania, Malaysia, Netherlands, United Kingdom, Ukraine, and Turkey. Thanks to the conference chair, Dr. Christina, and session chair, Dr. Vasumathi. Thank you to the LIC team. And thank you to Professor Gani and Dr. Albert for attending the 17th LIC as the keynote speakers. And thanks to LIC organizing committee. See you next conferences. Thank you. Bye. See you again.
Bye. See you.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Bye.